I remember on TV at some point, they started showing the behind the scenes footage of one of the movies that I loved watching. And I remember it kind of clicking for me that, wait a second, if there's people working behind the scenes, they're probably getting paid. Wait, to pay to make cartoons?
This is a very in tune 7-year-old.
Exactly. So I was like, well, it's a Nigerian 7-year-old. So I was like, I want to make money doing it.
Yes. Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of Making It. My name is Kenan Cooley, and I am with
Alvin Chia, your devoted partner.
My very devoted partner, who I'm very grateful for. Hey, Alvin, I have a question for you.
Yes.
My question is, what is your favorite cartoon, either currently or when you were a child?
Cartoon. I liked Battle of the Planets.
Wait.
And I liked, well, it's always about the music for me, and I liked the Flintstones. Yeah.
Okay,
oh,
yeah,
Battle of the Planet was great. Oh man, Keough and Tiny
Really?
and yeah, it was great. They would be running like this.
I'm sitting there loving cartoons and going, wait, Battle of the Planets?
Oh, that's great, good stuff.
All right, well, you caught me there. But yes, definitely the Flintstones. So I have a lot too. Flintstones was mine. The Jetsons was mine too. But
Jetsons was great.
My current ones actually are like Toy Story and Kung Fu Panda.
Right.
But,
the new generation of animation.
Yeah, but the thing is about animation now is that it almost looks realistic. It almost looks like you really are there. Their creativity and their ability to make things 3D, 4D. I mean, it's amazing. Sure. So I really have a lot of respect, which is why I have a lot of respect for our next guest.
Yes, I am excited to meet and talk to this young man too. He's very, pioneers. Anytime you get into this rarefied era, there are not many of us in the room. So I'm really waiting to pick his brain and see what it takes to get in there and stay in there.
Yes. So without further ado, please welcome Mr. Ere Santos.
Welcome.
I'm sorry, I said your name wrong in the intro, but it's Ere. That's right, Ere.
Right. Welcome. Ere. We set you up talking about our favorite animation from back in the day. We mentioned the Jetsons and Flintstones, and I think it was Battle of the Planets or something. I think it was there. When you said it, I'm like, well, maybe I'm getting the name wrong. But how all of the different variations and generations of the art form have come. And now to see you here in 2022, where I know it's rarefied air, and I have to think that there's not many of us in this area. We're proud of you. We're proud of you as we start to use your brain.
Yes. Yeah, so I was telling Alvin, we were talking about, we were just a little bit older than you, just maybe 1 or 2 years. So we were talking about just the evolution of animation and how now you all are able to make it look like you're really there. Like I look at cartoons, it's animation now. It used to be called cartoons.
Right,
now they call it animation because the skill level is so high.
Oh,
and
man.
I feel like it really does feel like you're in that space when you're watching the animations. Right.
Yeah.
And, we'll first talk about how you got started and then tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started a very long time ago. I started when I was really young, and luckily I feel very, very blessed to kind of have had a vision of what I wanted to do from a very young age.
What does that mean, really young? Like how young?
I'm talking like 7, 8 years old.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that was at a time where I remember on TV at some point, they started showing the behind the scenes footage of one of the movies that I loved watching. And I remember it kind of clicking for me that, wait a second, if there's people working behind the scenes, they're probably getting paid. Wait, to pay to make cartoons?
This is a very in tune 7-year-old.
Exactly. So I was like, well, it's a Nigerian 7-year-old. So I was like, I want to make money doing it.
Yes.
So a friend of mine introduced me to some free 3D animation software, and then it was called Blender, for those of you who want to know. And then I started using it, and I was just like going online and researching all these things and looking at tutorials and following tutorials and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there got to a point where I couldn't really continue doing, I couldn't really continue learning by myself, just because
Right.
animation, the way animation works is very, like, you kind of have to, you need feedback, you need
Right.
like all that kind of stuff to grow. And so I started reaching out to professionals in the industry. I started going on IMDb and just like going to all my favorite animated movies and just going click, 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 clicking all their names and Googling anybody who had an email address online. I would send thousands and thousands of emails.
Really? Wow, that's great.
Years, yeah. And then luckily, like some of these relationships stuck, and I got my first job in the industry about 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, and then yeah,
so your entry is in like the Pixar age, that generation, or is it the previous hand painted? How far? Where did you jump in the line?
Yeah, so I've only been in the industry for about 6 years, so like that is kind of in the Pixar age, but it's not necessarily like I didn't start out on Toy Story or anything like that. So I did intern at Pixar, was my first sort of jump into the industry, and that was a lot of fun. That was around the time that they were making Coco.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Incredibles 2. And then I left and I moved to London for about 3 years and worked in a bunch of movies over there. But then my first job as an actual animator was on Hotel Transylvania 3. That was at Sony.
Yes.
And then I started jumping around a bunch of different places, and then I just came back to Sony about 1.5 years ago, and I've been working on the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is the sequel to the Spider-Man movie.
So, one of the things I noticed as I watched some of the things that you do is that you guys it's sort of like, I do video production. So it's sort of interesting how you guys take a scene in your head and then you work it out on a camera and then you make it into an actual scene on animation. Can you explain that process a little bit? Because I thought that was very interesting that you are the actor and then you draw yourself into the cartoon character. Yeah.
So in computer animation, there's not a lot of drawing that happens for an animator. You can draw, and having drawing skills is very, very important as an animator. But it's kind of like we're using a 3D puppet. You know, like those processes where you take a picture, move it slightly, take a picture, move it slightly.
Yes.
The exact same thing, but just in the computer. And the computer allows us to kind of not take as many pictures, but it's still, requires us to have a lot more, stability and have all these twitches in the face and all that kind of stuff. So what I used to do, and what I always recommend people to do, is that if you're trying to capture a good performance, then do the good performance. If you're trying to make these Oscar-winning movies, you need Oscar-winning performances, which is like a lot of pressure sometimes,
Right.
But it's super cool because when I was younger as well, I wanted to be an actor and I wanted to go to Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. But discovering animation, I can still do that, but then I get to do so much more than I would ever get to do. I can be Spider-Man, I can be Dracula, I can be all these different things, and I don't ever have to change anything. I can still do that these days.
So as far as your teammates, do you work in a pod? Do you work with a group of creators? Do you work alone? You come back and how do you get that feedback that you said that you were looking for when you were younger?
Yeah. So it's the same sort of thing as it would be working on a regular film set. So you have your director, you have your producers, you have your supervisors of different departments. So in the animation department, the way it kind of works is that you have the camera staging department that kind of sets up the scene, and they put the camera where it's supposed to be, put the characters in place, and then the director says to the animator, hey, okay, so in this scene, the character's feeling like their brother just died and they're feeling really, really, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So they need to kind of be crying and, act, essentially. And then, unfortunately, the thing that's different from regular film sets, when you say action, you see performance right away. but in
Right.
animation you say action, and it takes like 3 weeks to.
That's great.
So
That's
Wow.
exactly where I would be out of it, because I remember when I was in college last year. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah,
I was going to do computer work, and the patience it takes. I mean, I remember this was way back in the day when we were programming, and you had to take, if you lost a period, you couldn't get the whole software to work. So the
Yep.
patience
Right.
you all have, like you said, you say action, and 3 weeks later, and you get just one scene. I'm like, that blows me that you're
Yeah.
really that specific about what you're doing, and redoing it and redoing it. Your
Yeah.
patience is amazing to me. But I would also wanted to know, so you said that you guys work in a group and you have an ad director.
Yeah.
But how much leverage do you have in,
Great
I
question.
guess, creating the
Right.
character yourself?
Or if you see it a
absolutely, yeah.
different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think one of the main things is that, and something I try to tell all my students, is that when you're working on a film, it's not your film. It is a
Mhm.
director's film. If you want to make
Right.
your film, go make your film, but this is your job, and you need to make sure that
Brilliant.
you
That's
are trying
brilliant.
to bring the director's vision to life.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you should just stay silent. If you're hired to bring the director's vision to life, that means that they like your ideas as well, and they want to make sure that your
Exactly.
ideas are going to help bring the best vision to life. So we don't really, as animators, most times we don't really have say over how the character looks, but we have
Mhm.
all to say how the character moves.
Okay.
That part is really exciting, and over the years I've gotten to develop a bunch of different characters, and it's been really, really fun to be able to kind of say how this is how this character is supposed to move. And
Mhm.
I'm super lucky on the Spider-Verse of being able to develop a lot of the new characters, and that part
Awesome.
is just so exciting to think that, like, I'm going to be able to develop these characters that kids are going to be, oh
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
my god, that
Or you'll see
moment
him one
is
day at
so-
an amusement park or something like that.
exactly, and I'm just like, oh, this is so weird that I did that, but it's now in the world and people don't know it's me. And
Right.
So
You're the superhero behind the scenes, right?
I don't know what's super, but it's definitely cool when you're watching your
Yeah, it's
movie
got to be.
in the theater, and then you're sitting in the room, and then your scene comes up and everybody laughs, and you kind of like,
Yeah. I did that mess.
yeah.
So as far as a pace of work, how long would it take you to animate? Say somebody said action, it was like that move right there. How long would that take?
Oh, I mean, it would be like maybe a week, 2 weeks.
Wow. Just that
Wow.
one movement? Just a movement.
Yeah. So it depends on a lot of different things. Like if you were just, if you're going to animate it straight, it maybe take you a day or two, but it's because of, like, you have to animate it and then
Layers.
get it reviewed and then get the
Yeah.
notes, get it back, and then so it's
Right.
not,
Wow.
it would literally take you maybe a day or two
Yeah.
to create it, but just the process of getting notes and everything like that. Because then the
Mhm.
director would be like, oh, instead of this, can you go like this? Actually, I like it the first time. Actually, can you fix it? So it's like, yes, it'll only take you a few hours, but then
Right.
it's
You
like
have to keep your
I
game
wanna
face
keep
on and
it-
say, sure, right? No problem.
Exactly, yeah. I'm not gonna shoot it.
So politics now. You
Yeah.
told us what it took, how long you've been trying to get in the room. You're in the room, and we know who's around you in the room. What does it
Yeah.
take to stay in the room?
True.
That is the question I ask myself every day. I think that in any art form, in any entertainment part of the entertainment industry, you need to stay relevant, you need to stay aware, you need to make sure that you know what the competition is and all that kind of stuff. And this is a very competitive field. There's thousands of
Yes.
animators now, and there's a lot of resources to learn animation, so there's a lot more animators coming up. But I think that's what's super important, is to be able to make sure that you know your voice. You know your
Right.
voice, you capture your voice, and you're maintaining your voice. And that is something that is just very, very that's something that's very, very important to make sure that you capture early and you hold on to and you develop. It's not just something like, oh, I don't know. To me, my personal opinion is that the death of art is when you get there into the room and you just go like, all right, cool, I'm here.
Right.
The work starts when you get in the room.
Yeah.
Up until then, it's just like getting prepared for that moment, and then now the actual work starts. So
wow.
What would you
yeah.
when you said something about art, it reminded me that they're taking art out of school a lot. And my son is actually an artist, and he started really young using like these different computer animation type things. So what would you kind of I guess suggest for young people to start using to kind of get their craft up before they maybe even get to the point where you are?
Yeah, I think it depends on what you want to do. I think it's in art in general, art is such a broad thing. I think it's really important to make sure that you know what you want. You want to specialize as early as possible, so you can be able to become really good at that specific thing, and then allow you to kind of be a lot more marketable. It'll allow you to be a lot more passionate about that one thing, still being aware of all the other parts surrounding the thing that you really want to do, but then having one thing that you know you really want to do, and even in that thing, seeing if you can specialize even more. Like that's the same thing. Like if you want to be like, I'm a specific surgeon that I only operate on a specific part of the brain, and I'm really good at operating on that specific part of the brain. You're going to be in super high demand because that's a really super specialized area.
And again, you guys get typecast, so to speak. I mean, I know actors kind of get typecast. Okay, this animator is this kind of way, and they're really good at that, and you kind of get and that's a good thing or a bad thing? Because I know for actors, it can be a bad thing.
It can be annoying as an animator too. So for me, like I said, like I absolutely love performance. I was in theater growing up and all that kind of stuff. So performance is something that's really, really close to me. And in animation, you kind of get put into two camps. In computer animation, you get put into two camps. You have your performance heavy animators, and you have your like mechanics heavy animators, people that do all the acting, So a lot of the mechanics heavy people don't really want to do performance. A lot of performance people don't really want to do the mechanic stuff, but then sometimes they do, but you're really good at that. They just keep on giving you all that stuff, and they don't really want to risk the chance of you not being good at something. Typecasting is I don't know if it's a problem, but it's a big thing in the industry for sure.
So you were talking about all of the different levels of bureaucracy to sign off on this. So I imagine that in your mind, you're like, well, is that fourth editor really necessary, or the second supervisor? Are all of those stages really necessary, or is it just kind of they kind of cross, what do they call it, checks and balances with each other?
No comment.
Okay. All right.
You just did. Okay.
I would say maybe there's a lot of times where you're kind of like, okay, so you're the supervisor, or you're the
right
supervisor.
That's
cool.
Great.
Are you getting paid how much more than me? Okay.
Right. Exactly.
Well, but you see at the end of movies or animations and stuff, the long list.
Yeah.
Just one
and holding the countries like all of Taiwan or all of India, China, whatever. It's like,
exactly.
Whoa.
But I do realize, like I said, having done it on a smaller scale and a larger scale, that the more intricate and the more high level the product, the more people you need in that space. Like you really can't have the one animator doing the whole 20 minutes because it'll be 2 years before it's out, or maybe it's 2 years, maybe 5 years or something, because
it is.
But like you said, you just have to specially. Huh? What'd you say?
It is 2 years. So I've been working on Spider-Verse for about a year and a half, and there's still like maybe 6 more months left to go on this movie.
Wow.
So and there's been people who've been working on it for like a year and a half before me. So it's been like 4 years in production.
And are you guys sworn to secrecy? Like you don't talk about it?
Always.
NDAs and
always.
Especially on this project because like there's such a huge fan base. It's everything we say is like super scrutinized, and we can't even glued to anything. And we can.
Do they ever have? I was going to say, like in a project like that, it takes 2, 3, 4 years. Do they ever change riders in the middle or horses in the middle? You get a new director with a new vision, and you're like, "What are we doing now?"
That would be horrible.
Yeah, that it happens from time to time for sure. And then when it happens, it's always a whole thing of readjusting because as an artist, need to learn the director's, taste, and need to learn what they like, what they don't like. When in the middle of production, you change the directors, you kind of like, whoa,
right.
Come back up to speed again and learn their new tastes and their groove.
Oh, wow.
And the groove, then you can start, running and cooking with kerosene, So,
is there any world where there could be a Black animated studio? Is that at all possible? Or is these teams and these years of delay and the outlay, is it prohibitive?
There's absolutely possible, and they exist. Like there's a couple studios in Nigeria.
Oh,
I'm blanking on the name right now. There's a couple studios in Nigeria, some in South Africa, and like they're mostly Black, and they're all Black owned, and it's
that's awesome.
Oh,
really
yeah.
exciting. And I'm just wanting to get more of that into the feature animation space as well.
Sure.
Just because I feel like there's a lot of stories. And I remember growing up, like I said, I'm Nigerian, and growing up with my parents telling me, and like my grandparents and cousins, and I'm just like, I want to see this as a movie. Like I want to play this as a game. It's so cool.
Yeah. There's
not enough of that, and I feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to start seeing a lot of that. Like there's this new Disney TV show called Iwaju that's coming out, I think next year or 2 years from now, which is made in collaboration with a Nigerian animation studio.
Awesome.
That is super exciting to see.
Well, I hope somebody doesn't have to take you out because you just told us that. So.
I was gonna leave that alone. I was thinking, that's the last we heard of you.
Man, so what's next for you? What do you want to do? You mentioned you just came back to Sony, and I imagine that is because it's connected to opportunities or promotion, that kind of thing. What's the next thing you want to do, or where do you want to go?
Yeah, so there's a lot of really cool opportunities in the future, and I'm really, really looking forward to them. As of right now, like I came back as a senior animator, and I've been a senior animator for a couple of years, but this is my I'm really excited to be here, and I'm trying to hopefully step into more supervisory roles in the near future. And they've been offered to me in the past, but I kind of wanted to make sure that I didn't want to step into a role that I didn't feel like I would do very well,
Right.
There's nothing worse than having a lead or a supervisor who is not prepared and is not ready. And you all kind of sit there and you're kind of like,
and he's not honest with his skill set and the lack thereof. Yeah,
exactly. And you just kind of all flounders as a result. So I just thought, no, this is let me just continue to take my notes, continue to build my portfolio, and then when I'm ready, we'll just kind of like we'll get there. Because if the promotion is offered to me now, it's going to be offered to me.
Sure.
So, and you'll be better prepared and feel more comfortable and be ready to do your amazing job. But
absolutely, yeah.
Well, we are super excited. And
I got one last question.
You got one more question?
One last question. Some guy runs up to you at Comic-Con. He's 22. He wants to get going. Is it too late for him? Or is it, from what you know, the amount of time and the 10,000 hours and that kind of thing, how young should he have gotten started? Or is there still a shot?
He should have gotten started whenever he wants to get started. 22 is extremely young.
Oh, good. Okay.
I think that I know a guy who was a brain surgeon in Korea, and then in his early mid 30s switched into animation, and now he's at Pixar.
Wow. I love it.
Doesn't matter what you are. I know nurses who were switched over, engineers.
Wow.
So like, if you love it, it's never too late to do it,
Oh,
so
great.
my son is interested in it, and he's 54. So I'm going to tell him.
Amazing. Do it.
54. How you say wait?
Excellent.
He looks exactly like me.
So
he's exactly
kind of like...
Oh, you're about to switch on me. Is that what we're doing right now? Fine, Ari Fury, take my co-host. I don't care. Bye.
Yeah.
No, so thank you so much. We had a great time talking to you, and it's very inspirational, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future. And now I look at the animation and go, did I see his name?
Exactly.
It's gonna be really cool to know we met you in person.
Absolutely. Continue success to you, brother. Continue success.
Thank you very much, and you too. You guys too.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye.